The famous Singer puzzle box of attachments. These came with machines that were sold in the early days of Singer and was originally patented by Grist in 1889, and he specifically made this for Singer. And as far as I know and what I've read, they only came with machines that were sold in the U.S. They were not over with the machines sold overseas. So this was a really neat set of attachments, and you can imagine getting one of these machines was exciting enough, but then opening up this gorgeous, wonderful little puzzle box full of these gleaming attachments must have just been fantastic. And what I want to show you today is how to use these hammers. They're real odd looking things. I've heard them called spoon hammers because they kind of look like a spoon, but they're real different, and they're really fun to use here. So I'm going to show you how to use it. We'll start with the number one hammer, which is a 3/16 of an inch size hem, real small. And I'll show you how to attach this. And you have to use this special foot that came in the kit that is specifically for the hammers and also the binder. And it's got a little hole on the side that these slip into. And then to secure them and keep them in there, after you've put them in the foot, there is a special screw included in the kit right here that goes on the back side to keep that secured in the foot while you're using it. It's back here, this little hole. This screws right in there to hold that foot in there, hold that hammer in the foot. So you put that on, and then you've got this little assembly that you can use, and those different hammers can be interchanged in and out of there. And there's this little screw on the side of these hammers that helps you adjust them from right to left, and you can place your stitching where you want it in the hem. So after you've adjusted that screw, your line of stitch along this hole, you've realigned it along that stitch hole, and you can place it wherever you want. And there's quite a bit of adjustment you can do to these to have that stitched exactly where you want. So here I'm going to put this foot on this machine. Now this is a 1952 Singer 201K treadle machine, and you'll take off its standard foot. Now what's been kind of great about a lot of the Singer attachments is most of them will fit most of the old machines with the low shanks. So they kept these, and we're talking about over 60 years of machines that these feet will still fit over those years. All of them, Singer was great about keeping that presser foot and spacings of things very standard. So that's a real handy deal because you can use these old attachments on new machines and some of the new attachments on the older machines. Make sure that your needle is going through that little hole and it's all lined up for that foot. Now this is a sample that I did earlier of this 3/16 inch hem, and I kind of think I want to move that stitch line over a little further to this edge here where it's so I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to change the adjustment on this and show you how to do that. But I'm going to show you how to do it on a different binder. This is another size, but here's where that little screw is, and basically you just take a screwdriver that came in the kit and go ahead and adjust it to where you want that stitch to be. So it gives you a lot of adjusting options, and it'll go left to right, placing that stitch where you want it. So here I'm doing it. Now if you look, I'm going to adjust this one to the right a little bit. That'll move that stitch line closer to the edge of that first fold of my hem. If you look down in there, you'll see it move to the right a little bit where that pointer is. So now here's how I found to start these hems, and what I've had the most luck with You want to do a double fold, and here I've got about a 3/16 size fold, and then I do a second 3/16 size fold, and you want to fold your second fold to the size of the hammer. The first one just needs to be small, a little shorter than a 1/4 inch. And I found this pinning technique to work best for me. It holds that beginning area secure when you start off, and you don't get it all crooked or jumbled up. It does a real good job. So this is my favorite way of doing it. I'll show you another way here later on of doing it too that works fairly well, but this one I've had more luck with getting a really nice hem start with this pin. Just take a tiny little bite and have it coming out the back, and it's not in the way of the foot that way, but it still keeps it secure until you get it started. Then you bring it into the foot and then roll it up in that scroll. So you'll want to have the back end where that pin is folded twice, and then you'll also fold it twice out the front. So you're creating a big folded tube that will slide up and down in that scroll. If you don't fold it over, I just have not had luck with the foot itself or the hammer itself actually doing a double fold for you. I found that'll work better if you kind of encourage it with a double fold from the beginning and out front. So here I'm going to slide that pinned area back in there right up to the edge under that needle. And I keep my double fold out front. And you want to slowly and carefully do a couple stitches, 2 or 3, maybe 4, but make sure you don't hit that pin with your needle and break it. So I just go real slow here, take a few stitches, get it started, and then I can remove that pin and get it out of the way. I've got it started. I leave that needle down in the fabric when I remove that pin so everything stays put. So now I'm just kind of working on getting that front end double over, double folded, and creating a tube up front. And now I can sew a little ways, and it kind of encourages, it does a better job if you kind of support the back end too with the tail threads. I'm not really pulling hard, I'm just kind of putting some tension on it to encourage it to go through and fold over real well. And once you got it going, you can go pretty good. And at the end, when you get towards the end, you want to try and keep that feeding in evenly. I usually use a pair of tweezers to hold the end, or you can use a stiletto, but make sure it feeds in real well. So this is much better. I like this one. The stitching's a little closer to the edge of that first fold inside there. And so here's comparing those two. You can see what a difference it made to do that little bit of adjustment. This is the second one here, and this is the first one. So I prefer the second one, but of course you can adjust that however you want it. These are pretty nice. The other thing these hemmers do, I could not make a fold, iron it, and actually sew on a standard foot and get it so straight and so even along that edge as you can with these hammer feet. There's no way. I mean, there may be some seamstresses out there that can do that. I can't. Some people might be that good, but these do such a great job of getting that stitch right on the edge. Now here I'm going to change out the smaller hammer and put in the 5/8 size hammer from the 3/16. You just unscrew it in the back, and this would be the number 4 hammer. You can see the size difference here. It has a number 4 on it. They numbered most of these attachments in this Puzzel-Box kit. So all you do is just unscrew that back screw, slip it in, take the other one out, slip this one in, and then tighten your screw back down. Real easy to change out. Make sure it's nice and secured. It's normal for them to flip around like that. And then again, I've got it started with the pinned edge, one small fold about a 1/4 inch. Now here I'm measuring it because your second fold you want about the size of the hem itself, so it'll be the right size when you start off. So here I'm just making sure it's going to be that 3/8 of an inch width hem. And that looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and take my little pin here and secure just a little small bite of fabric with that pin coming out the back end. Slip it on in, double fold over, get it kind of folded over. Don't have to iron it or anything. You'd be better off not ironing it. It will size it when it goes through there. So you just get fairly close to the size of the hem. Make sure you hang on to your thread tails too, or they'll get all jumbled up under there, so you want to make sure you keep those under control. This is a bigger fold over there. Pull it back, get that pin all the way back near that, right under the needle hole at the very edge, so I can get a good start on my hem. Got my presser foot. Take a couple of slow stitches here. Pull my pin out and keep the needle down so it stays in place. Now make sure I've got my folded over tube out front, thread tails in the back. Hold on to those thread tails, it kind of helps to get it started. Double fold over in front, and then away we go. Just working on some folding over down further in the fabric. You do have to mess around quite a bit at the beginning just to get it started just right, but it's really worth it because once it gets going and once you've got it all set up, it really does a nice job. Finishing up now, you're going to see here an example where I don't have my tweezers or a stiletto to hold things in place while I finish this off, and I'll show you what happens at the end when it isn't fed evenly through there at the end. Kind of see that twisted a little bit at that last end, but it started out real nice, real even, great straight long line along the edge of that first fold over. But here you can see it got a little crooked. If I'd have supported it with the tweezers or the stiletto to feed it through evenly, that wouldn't have happened. That's something you want to try and keep. I don't know where my tweezers are, so I couldn't find them, so I had to do this without them. But here it is, double folded over, nothing, no raw edges, just really nice and straight. Okay, so now here I've switched out the foot from the 5/8 inch foot hammer to the 3/8 inch hammer, and I'm going to show you an alternative way of starting these hems out. Basically, you can sew on a little tail to pull through the hammer, but you have to start going out one way, give yourself a lot of extra thread, and cut off a long tail that you're going to be pulling through that hammer. Go ahead and clean off the first tails, the thread tails. I've seen this done successfully. I don't always have luck with this. I like the pin method better for starting these out, but this is a way to feed it in and try to encourage it to fold it over. So here you got the thread in the back, and you pull it over and you'll see it flip. see it flipping there. You still want to fold it over twice to really encourage that thing to flip all the way over. And once you get kind of sliding back and forth with the tube, kind of put it back where it's going to start at the edge, start sewing a few stitches, and get your things all aligned and fold it over like you would with the first method. I'm getting my double fold set up. I'm going to hold on to that back end thread tails, feed it through, get it started, and works pretty well, except I will show you after I finish this. It didn't double fold the back end of it for me as I had hoped. So this isn't, for me, this just isn't as reliable. It just doesn't work as well, but I suppose with a little more practice and making sure you've got it set up, it would probably work. But I still prefer my pin start method. Also, this foot is not adjusted the way I'd like, but if you look back here, there's a raw edge at that start right there. So it didn't fold it over double, and it's not as close to the edge here of this fold. It's folded all double down there, and it did fine, but I think I'd like that stitching moved over a little bit. So I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to go ahead and readjust again this foot. I'm going to move it to the right a little bit and get that stitch line down the edge a little closer. This time I'm just going to start with my pin method again. Let's see if that works. The first little 1/4 inch fold. Second fold will be 3/8 inches width to match the foot. Get my pin, a little bite out of there at the very end, hold it in place. Okay, now I'm ready to slip it in there, kind of hang on to my thread tails, started. Slide it down towards the pin, get things folded over. And when you read the manual on how to do this, they really don't give you very good instructions at all. None of this pin technique or anything is mentioned. They just say feed it in there and let it rip. And you know, my experience is that just doesn't work. So you ease into it just like you have before. A few stitches and then get that pin out. With your needle down to hold it in place. Double fold the front going in. Get that tube going. Support the back end for a little bit there to start. And then it'll go pretty well. Again, it's best if you have a tweezers or a stiletto to kind of even feed that thing through. Here you can see the start was pretty good. A little closer to the edge here now. I think I like that size a little better. Does a great job. They really do a nice job when you figured out how to use them. Took me a long time to figure out how to use them right. Okay, so basically this kit came with the 5 sizes, and here's the first is the 3/8 inch here, and this was the 5/8, and then there's a 7/8 inch, almost an inch wide. I didn't use that one yet. So I hope this was helpful and you can figure out how to use these nice hammers and have fun with them. They're a lot of fun.